Before we start the battle, I want to just talk about the book a little bit more. We do talk about it during the game, but I think it's worthwhile taking a little more in-depth look at it before we start. You can see from the contents here there's a hell of a lot in this, but it's very generic. There's no pioneer options, for instance, in the infantry lists. The lists are all confident veteran, or for the Russians, fearless trained. But it's still, from my point of view anyway, still worth having because it helps you understand the way lists are going to be organised in future, about taking your company and your support options. So I think it's quite useful for that. I'm also very interested in how these data cards will look. I'll be looking to get cards at some point, but probably more likely the cards for the more irregular units, like reluctant trained and other units where they perhaps have different counter-attacking roles because of the type of vehicle they are, like you see in mid-war. But as you can see, got your compulsory choices, your support options. The Americans are pretty much, you would recognise this from any American list. It pretty much covers, I'm not overly familiar with Americans, but from what I can see, this pretty much covers everything you could possibly want. Planes as well, 150 points for 2 planes. And that's something that you'll see for all the nations. They've just put them in flights of 2. The Germans are the one nation who have got lots and lots and lots of options that are not available. I mean, just think about the amount of German anti-aircraft options there are. It's very narrow in here. I think there's 2 different kinds of mounted anti-aircraft weapons. The artillery is interesting in as much as the Germans with a 633 and with the Hummel have got 150mm artillery, and they've given it a 2+ firepower in bombardment with anti-tank 3, so that's actually quite useful. Everything else in the heavy range of artillery has been put down to firepower 3 at most, I think it is, so getting firepower 2 kind of helps balance that out a bit. You can see that there's lots and lots of stuff just flicking through this in here. There's no medium size tank hunters. It's either light or heavies for the Germans. Planes, Stuka's 135 for 2, which is good. More expensive than the option that used to be, but you get 2 planes, which you're going to need because you get shot down quite easily. And the British, you can see like straight away, it's full of stuff that you're going to recognise. Bren carriers, priests, fireflies, ordinary Shermans, Cromwells, no comets. Oh no, there's comets actually. So there's even comets in it. I mean, you can't really go far wrong, and all with the rebalancing for the points. So you'll notice that more in an infantry list than in a tank list. No heavy artillery on the British lists. I think that static heavy artillery is possibly open to review, and who knows what's going to happen with it. I think you might only see it in vehicles these days, or in that little German assault gun platoon. The Soviets have got it. So that's a little mistake there. Flamethrowers, I would think potentially the points cost of flamethrowers might have changed, but there's no points cost down there. Hopefully Battlefront can fix that with a little update. And a weird thing with the Russian infantry is that you can't take the 57mm anti-tank guns with the infantry. You can only take them with the tank company, and that's my favourite Russian anti-tank gun. It's really effective. 152mm artillery, firepower 2, so they do have that option for bombardments. It's not there for the Americans, it's not there for the British. Sturmovix, 200 points for 2. So that's down, but you're only getting the 2 planes, not getting the 3, but you only really need 2, I think, to have an economic force. And then you've got various special rules. Each country's got its own special rules too, and a wee bit of a painting guide and such likes. But basically, I think it's quite a useful book. It's something I wanted to get to try and understand the direction that mid-war was going in, as there's not going to be any significant books from late war. I might have said mid there, for late war. Nothing significant, I think, for a considerable time. Vast majority of people are going to use the existing briefings, so I can't see you wanting to choose one of these briefings over one of the other books, unless you want to have a German Grenadier Company with 2 platoons of totaling 7 Pak 40s. That's the only sort of significant thing that I can see. You might be able to do that already. So I can't see people necessarily replacing their list, but it's worth getting to get a flavour for how version 4 will develop. And of course you can also get the cards. The cards will be very useful if you want to go down that route. I think myself I find them more useful if there's more sort of specialist units in it, but you can get the cards instead of this, but I think it's a good starting point for version 4 in late war. So I'm going to go into the battle. We'll probably cover off a few of the things I've just spoken about during the game, but it's a good chance to try out these lists, and hopefully we'll get another battle in the not too distant future as well, where we can perhaps put the Soviets up against the Germans. Welcome back to another battle report, folks. Today we're going to try a couple of lists from the new Armies of Late War book. Anybody who's seen this yet will be familiar with it, but if you're not, it contains Russians, Germans, British and Americans, or I should say Soviets, and they're all kind of the top end of the tree. They are, for instance, confident veteran across the board, except the Russians who are fearless trained, and those are the kind of top ends without getting into the fearless veteran side of things. So they're quite expensive points wise. You can see the, just a quick look, you know, it's got the new formations and how they work and how they interact, how you can take support formations, and how you can you get a flavour for how the new cards will be, because you can also purchase the cards separately as well, which might be a good way of going forward, especially if you're new to the game and you can't quote these things off the top of your head. So we're playing a German Grenadier list against an American tank list. I think the biggest difference between version 3 and version 4 points wise is going to be in this list. But what I'll do is, before the game starts, I'll put up a page which has the points values and compare V3 to V4. So you can get a flavour for the differences there with all the redundant teams being accounted for. So in the German list, it's a Grenadier list. It's got 2 platoons of infantry. One of them has a Shrek attached. Part of it. You no longer, in this book, purchase the Shreks as part of the company HQ, and you can only have 1 per formation. It's also got, to support it in terms of combat platoons, it's got heavy machine guns, Pak 40s, 633s, and some mortars. Quite a lot of artillery in there, maybe more than I might normally take, but I want to just give all these support options a go. There's the option to take 4 Pak 40s as your regimental support as well, so 7 Pak 40s would be really, really nasty in certain games, especially defensive games. And to back them up for mobile stuff, I've got 4 Panzer IVs and 3 Marders. There's no kind of middle of the road tank hunters in the book. It's either heavies like Jagd Tigers and Jagd Panthers, or lights such as Marders. Now, Brian, if you can maybe let us know what's in the American list.
Yeah, so again, just using the generic list here just to try out the book. So we just started with 2 late Shermans. So I've gone for the Sherman tank list from the book. So I've got 2 late Shermans from the HQ. My first platoon, tank platoon, I've got 2 lates, but then I've downgraded in part to the 76s. They get the weaker armour but get the bigger guns. So there's a 4 unit there, 2 big guns and 2 smaller guns. The second unit is again just M4s, but again I've got 2 76s in that as well, so lots of big guns in my unit. Supported by the armour rifle platoon, full complement, so that's 295 points, same points value across the 2 books. I've got some priests. Now I've got the priests here now. They don't come with the observer, you've got to buy that separately, but because of the American rules about using the other units to help I count as an observer. I'm not going to pay for those points here, so there's some point savings in that we'll discuss when we put the list up as well. And brought in a plane as well. I think most army lists are going to have planes now in this version of the book moving forward. So this is a generic list just to try out the book, see how it goes against a generic German list.
That's 150 points for 2 Thunderbolts, so we'll compare that against the version 4. And one thing I forgot to mention, this is actually meant to be a Stuka. They've put 2 planes in the flight in the version 4, which is a lot better than just the one. Points cost has gone up a little bit. It's gone up 35 points. It's not as if they've doubled the points, but I think that's a positive change. So we're going to roll for a mission. We're going to keep it open. I'm not going to have a defensive mission. The Yanks have got the advantage of mobility, but there's plenty of mobile stuff for the Germans. So we're just going to roll at random. So we'll come back to you when we're ready to deploy. And also, before that, I'll put up a screen with the relative points cost for version 3 and version 4. So we're going to be playing Dust Up. Brian is the attacker. He chose this quarter to attack from. He didn't want my infantry in the buildings. In version 4, tanks cannot enter buildings, so as we read that, that means they can't assault teams within buildings, which means I'd have to shoot my guys out, and that would probably take too long. I've deployed over here. There's a fair amount of cover to keep me out of line of sight, but that's mainly most of my infantry and gun elements. What I've got on the table is 2 platoons of infantry, 1 defending this objective, 1 defending that forward objective. Behind them is a pack 40s. They're in a position so they can turn and shoot if they need to. They're in sort of an echelon or fire forward. Got Nebs on the hill, a good line of sight. Company commander peeking over the ridge of that hill. Mortars behind him here. And then the SIGs here. Now, something I didn't mention at the start, heavy artillery has got firepower 2, which is more than the adjusted firepower ratings that are shown in the sort of conversion rulebook. So I decided to get a couple of SIGs. Anti-tank 3, but firepower 2, so it might be really good for digging out infantry if they get a chance to shoot at any infantry, that is. And I've also got what should be my Stuka, yet to paint my Stuka, on the table as well. I thought, keep that on, I might as well get it on right at the start. And that leaves 4 Panzer IVs, 4 Marders and 4 heavy machine guns in reserve, and they'll come along this table edge here. So Brian, what have you got?
So not an awful lot. I forgot just how dangerous an armoured unit was when I've ended up with 60% left me with my priests, my platoon 1 of tanks, my HQ, which now counts as a unit on the table necessarily, and a plane. So off the table I've got my armoured rifle platoon and my 2nd platoon of tanks, which will come on from this table edge. The idea being that the priests were going to sort of hold the 2 objectives and try and artillery bombard. Although I don't have the observer, I'm going to have to wait till my tanks are in place to use one of the unit leaders to do the observing from when the tanks are in place. I've kept my HQ back just to protect the flank when something does happen. Basically delayed reserves, turn 3, and want to push everything up this corner into this Stramash here to see what I can take out before that actually happens. So a lot of infantry to try and dig out. Yeah,
the dust up mission can involve nothing happening for the first 3 turns. But we'll see. There'll certainly be planes flying around at the very least. So we'll come back at the end of the first player's turn, and I think we roll off for that.
We'll roll off to see who goes first now.
Right, okay, so I'll come back after that. 1, it's a meeting engagement, can't do any bombardments. My guys are not got anywhere that they can go without getting machine gun to death. Didn't get a plane. End of German, turn 1.
Okay, so this is the American turn 1, effectively the first turn of the game, since the meeting engagement meant that Frank didn't really want to do anything with his bombardments there. So, rolled for a plane, got my plane. So the plane was going to target in on the Pack 40s and some of the infantry. I could see down through the corridor with my priests, so the priests were going to target in on some of the mixture in here as well. And I decided to move my 2 HQ tanks round to start taking shots at the infantry in the hill, as well as using the terrain dash to get my tanks round to try and get ready for an attack on turn 2 onwards. So the plane managed to kill one base, but didn't inflict any other damages. It rolled in the first attempt, but only managed to take out one damage, but save on the gun. A little bit more damage done by the priests. So there was quite a lot of mixture of things underneath the template here. So I managed to kill was it a
Piece of infantry.
Just an infantry, but some damage or some saves made there as well. So everything's pinned down at the moment. So hopefully they don't unpin, and I can get another ton of bombardment before I start losing my priests to a mass of things coming my way. But first blood to the Americans.
So German turn 2, they actually get to do something this turn. They got a plane in, did some unpinnings, and what failed to unpin? The Pack 40s and the infantry platoon in the woods. So got the plane out, attacked here, and managed to lose a plane to 2 dice. It's ridiculous when it's got a 3 up save and then a firepower of 5, but there you go. The artillery, the SIGs and NEBs, they could only catch one, unfortunately, from line of sight. One of the priests, and only managed to bail it. And that's pretty much it for the Germans just now. We've really got to have to wait for the reserves to come in before they can get up to anything. So over to American turn 2.
Okay, so American turn 2. So first of all, rolled to try and bail my priest back in again, but as you can see he failed, so he's still sitting there exposed in the corner of the field. Second failed roll was for the plane, so I never got a plane coming as well, so that's a sign of bad things to come. I decided just to keep my 2 tanks where they were at the moment, because they really want to try and take some shots in the hill. I know it's a long shot, but at least they're sitting there shooting at something. And what I've done is I've done a blitz move and then a normal move up into the hill. Managed to get 3 tanks down, haul down onto the hill. The 4th one never made it, it was too far back. Took some shots at the Pack 40s, managed to get through. One failed at save, but then firepower only 2, so
Bear in mind that the Americans, with the new stabiliser rule, that needed an 8 to hit them.
It was an 8, because you've got to, because of moves, stabilisers, it's hard for Americans when they do move, but lots of shots in. So not a great turn for American turn 2, but I'm starting to get in a position where I want to be from reserves coming on to support an attack up here.
So German turn 3, I got reserves and I got the plane and everything unpinned. So in terms of firing, first of all the Pack 40s needed 6s to hit over here. I managed to get a hit, but only a bail. This is where it was a lot more unfortunate for the Yanks. I got my reserves straight away and they managed to get shots up the road and got a couple of hits on the side armour off the Shermans, and that put paid to them. The plane came in, a couple of shots of anti-aircraft fire, actually made it save this turn, and then failed to range in. Only needed a 3 dice and never got anything. So the SIGs, they were already ranged in and they managed to hit that again and kill it. The Nebs, I turned the Nebs' attention to the Shims over here, rolled a 2, a 2 and a 1, so no ranging in there. But a much better turn for the Germans, so Yanks need the reserves now, because that objective is going to be getting covered by Panzer IVs quite shortly.
This is the start of American turn 3. Hopefully I don't just have to record this next part and just keep playing it for each turn, but no plane, no reserves, so not a good start for the Americans. So I decided first of all just to do a blitz move to get the 4th tank up in the hill. Successful move, a blitz move, so that was 4 tanks in the hill, 8 shots each, having a pop at the Pack 40s. And as you can see, hit 2 but made their saves, so one failed to save but no firepower. So
that one there, you failed the firepower on it twice now.
So they're living a charmed life here. Just to protect this objective, I've moved again blitz move and then a successful test to go over the wall to get my 2 priests up against here. It did mean I could have one outlander shot up the road just round the building on Panzer IV, but failed to hit. So Americans could be in a bit of trouble here now, because those Panzer IVs can start coming down that hill and really take care of my my priests. I could be in big trouble here.
German turn 4. I didn't get a plane, but I got my second reserve. That leaves my heavy machine guns off the table, and the Marders came on here with a view to firing up towards the priests. Now, I made a bit of a blunder here. I wanted to move up the road, so I did a blitz move and I passed it, and then I failed my cross check. And I was like, oh no, damn it, I've not crossed. I forgot that I can then still take a move and try a cross check again. As it was, they just edged over with the blitz move, and they needed 60s to hit, but combined they managed to kill one of the priests. The other priest got bailed out by the Nebelwerfers, the mortars, and the Nebs ranged in. And then these guys have ranged in, the SIGs have ranged in on top of the hill, and the Pack 40s fired, but never managed to. I think they'll look at one hit and it's safe, because the guys are quite tough at range. My attack 12 against front armour 7, going up to 8 at range is quite good. So the Americans need reserves next turn, otherwise I'm free to come on. The plane can come on and maybe cause a bit of carnage. But there you go, we'll come back for American turn 4.
It's the end of American turn 4, so first of all I had to try and get my priest back in again, which he failed to do, so then I had to take a unit last stand, which he managed to pass. So although he's bailed out, he's still sitting next to that objective. I then rolled for reserves and managed to get my reserves on, so I managed to bring my tanks on. I done my move, go over the hedge, and then done a follow me just to get an extra 4 inches back into a bit of cover to try and get the tanks up into this area to start taking on anything coming in.
Yeah, so we're dashing.
A terrain dash and then my follow me. And then I got the plane in as well, but as you can see the plane came in. It survived the anti-aircraft fire, but then failed to do any damage on the 4 open top buses in front of them. So that was a bit of a nightmare, because they should have gone up in a puff of smoke. And these guys have just been shooting at these Pack 40s, and again living a charmed life. Managed to hit one, but failed its firepower.
I think you've hit 4 times, and I've had 3 fails out of the 4. And you've had 3 failed firepower.
Yeah, so not too clever, but at least I've got my tanks on now, so maybe it's going to take 1 or 2 turns before I die here now. But let's see what happens next time.
German turn 5, so my last reserves came on automatically and I didn't get a plane. The reserves were in the form of this heavy machine gun platoon, so they dashed, tried to follow me, it didn't work. The infantry have come across from this objective, because I reckon if the front one's going to go before this one. So they dashed over, tried to follow me, didn't work. The company command and second command moved, dashed over, tried to follow me, didn't work. Over here I managed to kill a Sherman. Managed to get a hit on the 76 that mistaken target wasn't used for, and it nearly made it, but I got it. The Nebs managed to range in over there as well on the 3rd attempt. No hits this turn, but they ranged in. These guys never managed to get any hits against the Shermans this turn. These Panzer IVs did a blitz, and then I move in here to try and just to get close to that objective, and these guys just stayed still. So more reserves coming on for the Americans next turn.
It's an end American turn 5, so again I tried to get the priest that was bailed out first of all back in, failed to bail back in, and then failed his unit last stand, so effectively counts as a wreck, so I've just kept in there with the flame marker on. Didn't need to roll for reserves, because automatically only had 1 left, so automatically was the armoured rifle platoon that came on, so they'd come on halfway up the table, and they've just done that. They tried, they've moved the 10 inches just to get onto the table, trying to go up for the infantry across here. The tanks had to move up here as well, so they could both contest that objective and try and get some shots away as well. And then I managed to get my plane on as well. So the other part of movement is I decided I've got to come off this hill and try and go in for the tanks at the back here. It leaves them very exposed to the Pak 40s, but I think, you know, sitting across here, they were doing absolutely nothing. Let's get rid of this objective, my tanks here, and then turn my attention back again. So firing, this is probably the most successful set of firing. So I needed 7s on your tank unit here, and managed to get 2 shots through, one with a 76, one with a 75mm. So I've destroyed one and bailed one out. So that was good firing from there. The 4 tanks here though needed 8s to hit his gun platoon at the back, because of the stabiliser rule, and as you can see, nothing there, so they didn't actually do any damage or even hits up there. I then brought in the plane, having the plane missing for the last couple of rounds, brought him in this round and failed to range in, because of the building needing a +1 to range in. So a bit of a hit and a miss. I'm hoping that I can keep whittling away down here, but we'll see what fire comes my way next turn from the mobile Pak 40s.
So German turn 6, didn't get a plane again. The infantry and heavy machine guns are mainly in here, some infantry behind, company command in here, he didn't move, and more infantry in here. These guys blitzed out into firing position, and these guys opened up and they caused quite a bit of damage. Most of it was done by the Marders. They managed to get 3 hits. But critically though, this guy here passed his save, which meant I shooted and scooted, and because I started within 4 inches of that objective, if he'd have been bailed or dead, I would have started within 4, finished within 4 with no active team, so that would have been a victory at that point. The half tracks have come in for a bit of fire. The SIGs fired. The artillery was called in by the company commander, and the Nebs fired, and the SIGs did a bit of damage. Bailed out one and killed another, killing a base.
Basing that.
There'll be a couple of infantry debussed there, but they can get back in and head off.
Yeah.
But then over here, unfortunately as well, these guys took lots of hits on the side armour. When I was rolling to hit hull or turret, I was really hitting, in most cases, the most vulnerable bit from the Pak 40s. So there's only one of them bailed, so there'll be quite a few checks for the Yanks to make next turn. And he's got to pile more guys up onto this objective. So over to Yank, turn 6, no more reserves to come on for anyone.
So just tried a couple of things with Americans. So I managed to get my plane in, no more reserves. I managed to get the plane in, so the plane was going to really go and target the 2 tanks here that were objecting that, and tried to move my half tracks up as well. Failed to unpin them, which was annoying. So it means I could still move forward, but I couldn't come out of the half track, so I'll try and get the infantry out into the buildings. But I've moved 2 up, because 2 are pinned on the hedge here, to start taking some shots in here. 76, as you can see, hit 2 Marders, and then failed its firepowers, a 1 and a 2, so absolutely no good for them there at all. So really, if I don't die this turn, there's something really going wrong, because the plane, I think, hit 1.
I rolled a 6 for the save.
They just save. So this is still staying on, because this is taking a check if it doesn't get back in again. So yeah.
Well, we forgot to fire MGs. We'll do that off camera. Just had to shoot up that house a bit. German turn 7. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, folks. I hit absolutely every single vehicle on the table repeatedly, and I didn't do anything.
We destroyed 1 half track.
Oh, sorry, I destroyed a half track and killed a base of infantry, and that was it. So it's still game on.
Okay, so this was the Americans' turn now then, and this really hinged on, first of all, getting this bailed in tank back in, which you failed, which meant unit last stand here, which you failed, hence the space. And that then just left me the 1 unit on the table, the armoured rifle platoon. So game over from the Americans. So quite a hard defeat there. I must admit, I probably should have lost that 2 or 3 turns later, but I managed to stay on. But I keep running smoke markers. I need to buy more smoke markers from American Army because they go up like bits of paper at times.
Well, it was an experimental list, but the thing with this mission is gambling on trying to take an objective or holding your own, and your army wasn't big enough to take and hold.
Yeah, it was quite small.
Mine was surprisingly big when you look at it.
When you look at it, there's quite a lot in that list. It's a very good list. Probably too much artillery. You've probably got 4 different types of artillery there.
Mortars, nebs and SIGs.
Yeah, it was quite a strange one. I think the Americans need to go back and learn how to secretly disarm their stabilisers. I think everyone's complaining about that rule at the moment, which is probably is accurate according to some of the feedback in terms of the stabilisers were probably always around the tanks, but it doesn't have to make it hard if you move an American to actually hit anything.
They're supposed to be the army of mobility.
Yeah.
But now if you move, you're
Yeah.
gulped compared to everybody else. Everyone else is better on the move than you are. Seems a bit daft. But the planes were quite interesting. Mine never really turned up after about turn 3. Brian's kept turning up, but they both kind of had the same result, which wasn't very much. But I think they're still worth having for that extra thing that will kill the hard top armour 2 or heavy front armour stuff. So the Germans managed to get through that with no losses there. They were close to taking the objective. Actually, one thing I forgot to mention because of my stun state after the last turn is even here, this one single tank had 5 dives to stop an assault going in and it got 5 hits. So he might have ran away, but he was pretty heroic up to that point. So there you go, that's our first game with the Armies of Late War. I'm going to maybe see if I can arrange one with Germans versus Soviets next, and see how maybe see how a Soviet infantry force looks with the new point system.